Blaming oxidative stress as the cause to heart disease or cancer or aging or any other disease is the same thing as blaming diabetes as the cause of blindness. Diabetes, oxidative stress, these are subsequent causes. They're not the primary causes. This is the problem with conventional medicine. You guys are guilty of what's known in Latin as modus ponens. Layman's terms, putting the cart before the horse for problems within your control. We don't have oxidized cholesterol because we're breathing. We have oxidized cholesterol because of the fall of mankind, which is fast oxidation. Get it? Fire! That's where we're getting our oxidized cholesterol from. This is ridiculous to blame breathing for oxidation or oxidative stress problems, just like it's ridiculous to blame sunshine, something else that's natural, for skin cancer. Our experts don't have a clue to what's going on. Sure, we can get too much sunshine and have free radical damage, but that's the balance between free radicals and antioxidants. So when we suffer from oxidative stress, we're doing something wrong that's making this difficult for us to keep up with the mess. We're damaging ourselves by eating the wrong food. We damage our kidneys, our lymph system doesn't get filtered. There's too much crap inside of our lymph system. Cells can't get rid of their waste matter. This is what's causing the problems. We're not able to handle our waste from our own waste matter because we're not obeying simple laws. The first big mistake we ever made, the fall of mankind, we took something that destroyed a nutrient that feeds one of our senses, and it's fast oxidation. It's fire. You want to find the source of oxidized cholesterol in the vast majority of people on this planet. It isn't because they're breathing, it's because they're cooking their food. When you cook your food in oil, you make the oil rancid. Rancid oil is oxidized oil. Oxidized, you get it? This is absurd that we try to train bacteria to come in and do work downstream when we don't need to be downstream. We got to go upstream and find out why we have so much oxidative stress. Why is there an imbalance? Doctors don't get it. They don't know how to balance equations. They don't learn about food to balance the equation out and build things up. They're taught drugs and poisons to knock things down. That's how they balance the equation. They don't study the lymph system, so they don't know the cause of our problems, so they're on wild goose chases trying to treat symptoms. Our nutritionists, they too are misdirected. They don't study the elimination of food. They don't understand how to create to balance the equation either. They think the solution is, well, let's just take these supplements. And then when you take supplements, that's not changing your diet. No wonder Aubrey supposedly doesn't get anything. He compares two bad diets and thinks, well, there's no difference in diet, so why make a difference? All right, well, we know diet doesn't make a difference because we've done these studies with mega doses of vitamin C and vitamin E. It didn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference with beta carotene either. Why? These are isolated nutrients, you stupid, stupid, stupid people. And I call you that because you're the reason why we're suffering. That's why I get so upset. Because people suffer because of your energy taking us the wrong way. No man is clever enough to know all the evil he does. When you go for a run to cure for cancer or multiple sclerosis or a bike ride to cure these diseases, you're a part of the problem because you're giving energy to the wrong direction. They don't have solutions. You got to get outside that box. You got to look at the role food plays. You have to look at the role fast oxidation plays. That's fire. It's cooking our food. That's what allows us to eat animals we're not meant to eat. That's what damages our kidneys. That's when our lymph system doesn't get cleaned and filtered. And that's when disease backs up into our system. That's when the waste matter, our own waste matter, backs up. So in a way, it is part of our process. A lot of our problems are part of our daily process, but it's only because we're not able to clean up the mess like we're supposed to. Why? Because we're eating animals that damage the kidneys, the lymph system doesn't get filtered, then it backs up into the tissues. It's simple. It's simple. It's not that complicated. But when we use fire, we eat the animals, then we start eating plants we're not meant to eat. They actually have anti-nutrients in them, but when you use this fast oxidation, you destroy those antioxidants. Now you can eat something you're not meant to eat. And we shouldn't be processing our foods and using chemicals. So those are 5 huge mistakes I remind you guys about all the time, because I have a special treat for you guys that will correct all 5 of those mistakes. It's a solid food vacation. I have a playlist down below, 28 related files, or you can go straight to the first step, which is one of those videos you need to see. It's a seminar on how to do a solid food vacation. When we take a solid food vacation, we correct the 5 main mistakes we're making. In the process, we're going to flush out that serpent that's within our intestines that Victor Hugo refers to. We're going to bump up our biophotons, and that's the main thing we have to do. So when you look at the big picture, my friends, this isn't just about disease and even ill behaviors. It's about the whole state of this planet. This is hell right now. We live in a twilight zone. It doesn't have to be. This should be paradise. And it would be if we got rid of all the problems that are within our control. Our problem, we lack the wisdom to know the difference. Why do I insist you take a solid food vacation? Because you're going to have a brand new reference. You're going to realize that these problems are within your control. And then you're going to realize that you do play a role in getting us out of here, or a role in keeping us here. And people like Aubrey is playing a role to keep us here. He perpetuates lies and myths that he claims dye doesn't have anything to do with it. Dye can't get rid of this stuff. The cells have no means. He doesn't know. There's a simple solution, my friends, if we simply go upstream far enough and look at the mistakes we're making so we can correct them. Now, to really understand this whole discussion, in fact, if you want to find a flaw in anybody's thinking, you have to understand there are 3 stages of knowledge, and it's the basis behind my special teaching tool, which is a 6-box system because there's pluses and minuses in each stage. Now remember, the 3 stages of knowledge, the first stage is where we acquire the knowledge. It's either knowledge or false knowledge. And then there are the applications. There are good applications, which means we're satisfying our needs, or there are bad applications where we're not satisfying our needs. And then the 3rd stage is what we manifest. And we either manifest paradise, which is a place that doesn't have problems within your control because you're satisfying your needs, or we have hell, where we have hundreds of thousands of problems that are within our control. This is what we're manifesting right now. It's horrible right now. So we got acquired, applied, manifested, or thoughts, actions, reactions. Beliefs, causes, effects. Belief system, lifestyle choices. Feedback system, that's important, feedback system. The things we think in the first stage of knowledge. The things we do or have done to us in the 2nd stage of knowledge. And that actually does include what we do to ourselves before, because it's going to ripple around. I'll explain that in a moment, because that's why I'm doing this right now. And then we get the things we get in the 3rd stage of knowledge. So another way to think of these 3 stages of knowledge, especially to understand how the ripple effect works, where effects become knowledge, as in the knowledge loop, experience is the best teacher, or the effects become causes, as in the causal loop. And this is where diabetes comes into play. This is where oxidative stress comes into play. Again, it was an effect before it became a cause. Now, a simple way to understand the ripple effect is to say that we wake up, we do things, and we go to bed. We wake up, we do things, we go to bed, more explicitly. We wake up, we think, and we do things. We do things without thinking, and things are done to us, including some things that are actually based on what we've done before, but they're rippling back around. And then we go to bed. Now, this is the key. The next day, we wake up again. Well, that comes from going to bed. When we wake up, it comes from going to bed, don't you see? This is just like financial statements. A beginning balance, all the activity, ending balance. End of the month becomes the beginning of the month. End of the day becomes the beginning of the day. That's the ripple effect, where effects become knowledge, as in the knowledge loop. But then, dang it, those effects can become causes, as in the causal loop, and that's what's getting us. Oxidative stress, causal loop, subsequent cause, not a primary cause. You're putting the cart before the horse, Aubrey. All you medical bozos are putting the cart before the horse. You're guilty of modus ponens. To use logic to solve our problems, there are 2 criteria that must be met. 2 requirements. 2 tests that have to be passed. One is extremely simple. 7-year-old child can grade it. Second test, extremely complicated. In some subjects, most people don't have enough knowledge and intellect to be able to find any logical fallacies and grade that test. So what do? Never start with this test first. That's what they're going to try to do, to trick you into getting sucked into that. When you go, wait a second, let's give you that first test first. Oh my God, you failed it. Well, you know what? When you use logic, you got to pass both tests. Does it make sense to try to give the person the hard test first, does it? No, you give them the simple test. To understand this, to understand logic, it's really simple. There is what's called the structure, and then there's what's called the contents, or the details, or the specifics. To think of this, think of the structure as railroad tracks, and then the train is the contents, the specifics, the details. Complicated stuff up there, some of them. But the key is the railroad tracks are always one way. That's the idea behind my special teaching tool. 3 stages of knowledge, 2 sequential ordered pairs. A and B, B and C. 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Beliefs and causes, causes, effects. Thoughts and actions, actions and reactions. Things we do, or things we think, things we do, things we do, things we get, you see? And how we being tricked? It's in between what we do and what we get. That's where the medical people come into play. This is the monist ponens, guilty of monist ponens. Putting the cart before the horse, because they're interfering with the body's communication process, or they're going to treat the damage downstream. And that's okay to do in some cases, because we have to do that. You know, I say that in most of my videos. Got to go upstream, find the knowledge we're missing, apply it. But then we've damaged ourselves, society, and the environment, so we have to deal with the damage to ourselves. So now our ideal diet might not work for all of us. Why? Because we've damaged ourselves. The environment's damaged. And even society, I go over that too. We got to take back control over the money supply. There's a lot of things we have to do downstream, but the main thing is we got to go upstream. And if we don't understand the cause to disease and our problems, we're going to be totally lost trying to make some sense out of everything else. Now, there is a time and a place to treat some of these symptoms. And actually, sometimes that's all we can do if it's a problem outside our control. Now, I've mentioned before there are 4 ways we can work downstream. 2 of them are the right way and 2 of them are the wrong way. I'm not going to go into that now. I'll put a link down below where I talk about 3 ways to screw up the law of cause and effect, 7 wrong approaches, and then 4 ways we work downstream. I'll put a link down below. You can go check those out. I've already told you one way we're screwing up the law of cause and effect. That's what our medical system is doing. It's a magic act. They're in between what we do and what we get, not letting the body communicate. Remember that last 3rd stage of knowledge is our feedback system. It's a magic act, giving the illusion that the problem doesn't exist, but it doesn't remove the primary causes. We always have to go upstream when it's a problem within our control. If it's outside of control, all we can do is work downstream. So the biggest way we screw up the law of cause and effect as far as illnesses go is we put experts in between there, giving the illusion that it's working. And of course, the biggest way of all we screw up the law of cause and effect is when we don't know what comes before the cause. That's up here, the knowledge of how to live. It's what we're missing. And then the 3rd way we can screw the law of cause and effect up is what comes after the effect. Remember, there's a ripple effect, there's damage done, and again, this is God darn, she's tied up again. Hang on. Okay, she was really hurting that time. Okay, as I was saying, there's another way we can screw up the law of cause and effect, and that's what comes after the effect. That's the ripple effect. This is the knowledge of how to adapt. So there are 3 ways we can screw up the law of cause and effect. The first way is the way our medical system is doing, interfering with the body's communication process. The main way is when we don't have the knowledge of how to live. The 3rd way is when we don't have knowledge of how to adapt. So that explains the ripple effect. We wake up, we do things, we go to bed. We wake up, we do things, we go to bed. Everything we do affects us, and those effects are going to accumulate and be reflected in what we got. Now, we can change what we do immediately and remove or overnight and remove the primary causes immediately. But we can't change what we got overnight. And that's where we still have damage that's done. Now, I'm all for coming up with new technologies to help us clean up the mess we've made. But we know the body can do this naturally. Aubrey goes, oh, the cells don't have a mechanism to get rid of this stuff. Yes, they do, and it's what you guys don't study. Once again, your body's nothing but a bunch of cells and 2 fluids. The blood is the kitchen, it brings in the food. The lymph system is the bathroom. It gets rid of the waste matter. Every cell has a means to get rid of its waste matter, but we're damaging our body because we're doing things we're not supposed to do. The kidneys don't filter the lymph system. The lymph system is full of crap. Our cells can't even get rid of their own waste matter. Type 2 diabetes is basically cellular constipation. Too much garbage inside our lymph system, cells can't get rid of their waste matter. And what happens when we keep dumping crap into our sewage system? It backs up. It can only handle so much crap. And when it backs up, where can it back up to? Only one place, where it came from, the cells. Oh, we don't know what's causing disease because you don't study the lymph system. You don't think there's a mechanism to get rid of waste matter. In fact, it was just recently where they said, oh, we found a new lymph system in our brain. We didn't know it existed. We thought we had the whole thing mapped. You don't have anything mapped. You're missing so many maps that ain't even funny. They had more maps back in the middle of the 1800s than you guys have now. They understood the lymph system was backing up. They understood that was the cause of disease. Everything else we're doing is putting the cart before the horse. You're treating a symptom for a problem within your control. Oxidative stress is a subsequent cause. It's not a primary cause. Primary cause, cooking your food, eating animal products, eating plants you're not meant to eat, processing your foods using chemicals. That's where the problems lie, and there's a simple solution to deal with every one of those. Take a solid food vacation. Why? Because you're in for a treat.